back for another week of the HotLap Production Podcast. I am your host, Isaiah.
What it do, baby? Ventura here. How we doing, guys?
And this week we're just going to jump right into it. We got a little bit of news. Let's start with the new Ferrari Roma V8. It is the new front engine Ferrari. So
front mid-engine.
Is it mid-engine?
It is front mid-engine, yes.
It's behind the front axle, yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, a $300,000 Ferrari GT car. So, they're taking an aim at Aston Martin in them.
When you had sent it, I had no idea this car existed, and you sent us the topic. I was like, oh, okay. Well, I guess let me look this up, and it is gorgeous. Like I've never been a Ferrari guy. I don't think I ever will be. But of all cars, if there was one to buy, I'd probably buy this one. Like it is absolutely gorgeous.
No, I totally agree with you. It is. It's a looker. I'm not one for supercars. But my Lord have mercy, have they smacked this out of the park. I mean, it is just, it's pretty. All of the angles look good. Front, rear.
Taillights are pretty different, but they look super nice. I like the quad exhausts, the ways they're kind of staggered a little bit is super cool too.
Right.
The interior was insane. I don't know if you saw that, if you got that far. But it has the typical kind of tablet style infotainment system, but the passenger in like above like the glove box has their own small little screen that they can control their climate. They can actually kind of see some things that are going on that you would have on the gauge cluster, like RPM, speed, things like that. They have a whole array of things that they can see on their little screen. And then everything else is like basically all digital, all touch screen. Then it does not even a blinker stack. There's buttons.
Yeah, on the steering wheel. They've been doing that for years. They started that with the Ferrari 458 back in late. Well,
that's interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's hard when you're driving because they're fixed. So like if you're turning, you got to remember which way is which. But no, that's pretty cool. I definitely like the whole aesthetic of the car is really cool. I like how they're taking the aim at the GT cars and just kind of looking at everything. It's really, really nice. I'm definitely a fan. It's powerful. It's not too powerful, but it's powerful enough. 611 horsepower, 560 foot-pounds of torque. So it's definitely going to be quick, no doubt. I mean, what Ferrari isn't, but
right.
I guess we got to wait for the driving reviews and see what they say about how it handles. But
the way it's all laid out, as far as even the way the engine sits in the chassis itself, it's pretty low and pretty far back. And like I said, it's from mid-engine, so I think it's going to handle pretty well too. It had some beefy tires on it. I think it had 285s or 295s in the rears.
Yeah,
and then 255s in the front, I think. So, I think it's a Ferrari. I would imagine they're not just going to throw that out there without it being able to handle itself on the track. So.
This is true. They've had some hiccups, so you can't necessarily say that because they have had their few cars. They've had their few cars where it's just like I don't know.
But even beyond that, like this isn't. I mean, it's cool if it'll be awesome if it can outperform a lot of stuff on the track. But at the end of the day, if it doesn't at the same time, that's not what this car.
Yeah, it's a road car. It's definitely a GT road car. Something you're gonna take cross country. Throw some bags in the trunk and go. Drive the length of England for. Just because it's Tuesday, because you have that kind of money, because you can afford one of these.
Right.
But
right. Yeah, no. I don't think they're gonna be too concerned if people are mad that they feel like it could be a second quicker on the track. Like,
it's not. That's definitely not what it's for. Yeah.
But I definitely. Like I said, I don't know if there's a single Ferrari that I'd be like, oh, I need one until I saw this car.
Yeah, exactly.
I might, if I won the lotto, I might put one in the garage. That might be my daily right there.
Well, I mean, no, that's definitely going in the garage. I mean,
right.
I'm not a Ferrari guy, but if I had to buy a Ferrari, definitely going in the garage.
That's the one.
Yeah. Automatically.
Oh yeah. Oh, side note. Remember I was asking you what to call the shape for those wheels with that kind of spoke design,
Yeah.
like that or the Chargers or anything like that? Split spoke, I think is the term that I heard that makes the most sense. The video I saw is a Rady's ride. He said a split spoke design, and I was like, it just clicked. The light bulb went off.
It's
I was
like,
like, there it is. That's what it's
that's
called.
exactly what I
Yeah,
needed.
thank you.
I was like, I've been trying to figure this out for a little while now.
Oh, it's been bugging me for a couple weeks now. Is what the hell to call that?
Yeah, no, definitely cool. Another one is the latest Aston Martin, which actually turns to be a SUV. So it's called the DBX. It's got a 4-liter V8. It's got 542 horsepower. It's basically meeting the requirements to compete against the Audi SQ8 and the Lamborghini Urus. But they're why do we need these? Why do we need these high horsepower issues?
Uh,
I mean, I get why Dodge did it because they're just like, hey, we're gonna throw the Hellcat motor in everything. But come on, can we not
and
make
that's
this a trend?
yeah, and then, I mean, even then the Mopar lineups, that's just those are more attainable SUVs to begin with, anyways.
Well, yeah, I
So
mean
like,
it's
why?
$100,000, but still.
But I mean, it's not 500 or 200, whatever the
Yeah,
Urus is.
this one's 189,000 starting, which
Right,
for an Aston Martin, you've got to check a bunch of boxes before you even get one. So it's probably gonna be like 250 once you're done.
right.
Yeah.
So, so I mean, it's I don't know why supercar makers are making SUVs, or not even a supercar, just like because I wouldn't consider Aston Martin. Well, I guess they can. They have.
They're super. I mean,
Yeah.
they're a
Yeah.
supercar brand.
No, you're right. So yeah, I don't know why supercar brands are making SUVs. I can see maybe how they want to be a little playful. Like, so for instance, I guess with the Urus at first, I took that as like a kind of playful idea of like, hey, we made a SUV that can do 0 to 60 in whatever the time was. Yay, cool, look at that. But I didn't think it would turn into a trend of actually making SUVs for people to drive, like as their soccer mom, baby
So
boomers.
the Lamborghini, we're car people, so we know this. But Volkswagen owns everybody and their mother, and because Volkswagen has the Atlas Sport and they have the Audi SQ8,
Don't tell me that yours is just
that
on
is
an
that's
Atlas platform.
literally a Atlas SQ8 platform that Lamborghini said, "Hey, let's throw a V8 in it and make it our own
No.
SUV." So,
I don't know why I didn't put that together on my own.
yeah, bud, yeah,
Oh my
it's an
god.
Audi. It's an Audi.
Oh, I would have never. I mean, like, it
Uh
makes
huh.
sense, but like, I would have. I guess I gave them the benefit of the doubt that it's its own car.
No,
That's
it's an Audi.
how much the Urus cost. That's
They start at 200 grand.
Ugh. I don't know, man. I guess the trend of SUVs has finally made its way to supercars, and Aston Martin just wanted a piece of the pie. Is really where it's at. Is all. Is all.
I feel like this is America's fault.
Absolutely, I'm sure 80% of the sales of these SUVs are in America.
This is
There's no
America's
way.
fault.
There's no other way. I mean, it has to be. Like,
Yeah, I mean, there's the Explorer ST, which when it was the Explorer Sport to me was a little bit cooler because the Explorer Sport was really low key, and you couldn't tell that it was an all-wheel drive twin turbo monstrosity of an SUV. But the ST just kind of screams like, "Hey,
look at
look
me.
at me!"
Every every ST car that's not the Focus or Fiesta just screams, "Look at me."
Yeah, so it's
I
just
mean,
like,
those look, but those two, I guess, because they're hot hatches, rightfully so,
yeah,
fit the bill.
yeah,
But the Edge, the the
Explorer.
the Explorer,
It's
doesn't
just
the Escape get one too?
no, not yet. God, I hope not.
Like, I don't know, but they're just like, hey, I'm here and I'm
Yeah,
sporty. Like,
yeah.
stop.
Yeah, I mean, and it's not really to knock the ST Explorer because it is fast. Because right now, if you flash tune them alone, I mean, they're running 12-second quarter miles, which is respectable for a 2-ton SUV with all-wheel drive. But can we not do this to all the SUVs in the world?
Right. I can understand, like I said, I can understand why Dodge wants to make a fast SUV because their regular SUVs sell a lot to
Well,
the
I mean,
competition. So why
they've
not
been
have
selling
a
the SRT Grand Cherokee since 2005, 2006.
right?
So I mean, they've been in the game for a while, and I mean, I can't knock
But even you
Ford
look
because in
at
the 90s we had the Celine Explorer, which was a supercharged V8, which is cool.
but even like I guess that trend has been around where the layman brands, if you will, have always had a fast SUV. Look at the Blazer SS
Yeah,
or things like that. You know what I mean? So that trend has been there for a while.
yeah.
But like we don't need this from supercar makers.
We
We
don't need
don't.
$250,000 500 horsepower
Right.
V8s.
Like if someone who can afford that is looking for SUV, they're going to Audi, they're going to BMW, they're going to Mercedes if they got it like that with a G wagon or something like that. If they got
They
it
do
that
no,
crazy.
no, they do have 6.3 AMG like M class SUVs, so like the equivalent of like an Explorer. So they've had that for a while too, but I mean, they're
But even
also those
then,
are more
that's
attainable
still
too.
right. Exactly. Those are still 80 $90,000 SUVs at that point instead,
Yeah.
or 110. Like if crazy. Like that's
Yeah,
that's
we're barely
ridiculous.
touching six figures at that point, not,
Right. Not 200,000. Not twice people's living salary a year. 3 times, 4 times people's living salary a year. You know what I
No,
mean?
that's true.
So yeah, Lamborghini SMRN. You can just leave them alone, bro.
Who's next?
Like
Bugatti?
I mean,
We have the Maserati Levante, which is also just another Dodge product, but we're not going to say that. Oh, I had a guy that came into work the other day who was basically like bashing on Maseratis and stuff because he was looking at the Stinger we had on the drive, and he was like, "How are these doing?" And we started talking about it, and so he was talking to a salesman who owns a Maserati, by the way. And so, yeah, I know that was the funny part. So he's like, "Yeah, this is pretty cool." He's like, "It's more bang for your buck than you would get for an Italian sports car." He's like, "When you buy a Maserati, you buy a mechanic with it." Then I start chuckling because I'm like, he doesn't know that the salesman owns a Maserati, and so like the salesman's like, "Well, why do you say that?" And so he starts going into it about how they break down, and Italians just never knew how to make cars, and blah 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 blah. And I'm just laughing because I'm just like, I mean, the guy's not wrong. And then FCA now exists of Fiat Chrysler, and Chrysler has their own issues. So then you got Fiat and Chrysler making cars, so it makes sense. And so the guys, I mean, the salesman's just trying to vend his Maserati to death. He's like, I haven't had no problems, and I've got 80,000 miles, and blah blah blah. And I'm just like, do you not have problems? Are you ignoring them?
would you not realize they're there?
Right. I'm
Just
like,
because you don't have a check engine light
like,
doesn't mean
doesn't
there's
mean
not
something's
stuff going on
wrong.
with the car.
So
Like,
I'm like, so are you
oh,
ignoring the issues or do you have issues? Because I'm like, there's a difference between not having it. Some people get those cars where you just don't have issues with it. But are you not having issues or are you just ignoring the issues? Because
or
you're just
don't
like,
hear
I
them.
don't want to take this into the shop because it's going to be $500 just for them to look at it.
Right.
Because I mean,
I'm sure.
he's driving a Ghibli, so he's just driving a glorified Charger with an Italian V8. So I'm just like,
I
yeah, dude,
promise
you
you,
just
there's a
nah.
pulley. There's a pulley making a noise. There's got to
Right.
be some struts leaking
Well, I'm
or
just, and I was laughing because I'm like,
control
dude,
arms clinking.
I technically drive the same car as you, and I just have the Americanized version. Like you have the glorified one with the Italian V8. I have the American V8, and mine is falling apart daily. So I don't understand how you're not having problems and I am.
Right.
But
Promise you, there's clunks over bumps, and he just doesn't know it.
the Charger has new noises every time you drive it, whether it's a tick or a squeak or a knock or a it just. But yeah, back to the SUVs. The Maserati Levante is out. I mean, we're getting sports car brands bringing out SUVs. Um,
Yeah.
Porsche's doing good. They've had the Cayenne.
But again, that's on
In
the
the
same boat as
2000s.
Audi and Mercedes.
Because it is pretty attainable. Yeah, it is. I mean, even the GTS model with the turbo V8 and all that stuff is pretty. I mean, it's 120, 130 grand, but it's still not terrible for what you're getting because you can still get a base Cayenne for 80 grand.
Right.
And that's not a terrible SUV base model anyway, because I mean, it's still a
A
Porsche.
Porsche. Right.
Yeah. So
It's just it sucks that we being America force these automakers to feel like they need to make that just to get a piece of the pie,
Get their hand in the market, yeah.
yeah, and get a little extra cash, just because someone might be like, "Oh, I've always liked Aston Martin, but I really need an SUV in my life."
Yeah, I got the
Hey,
kids, and it's
what's
so
this?
crazy. I'm like, okay, just because you have one kid does not justify your seven
You
seat
need all the
Durango,
room.
right?
Oh my god, bro.
I'm like, bro,
Oh,
I'm
dude.
like, you don't need a
Yeah.
Durango because you have one child. You need, you don't even need a Journey. You can keep your Avenger. You can keep your Taurus. It's one child, one car seat, one
Families
stroller.
have been doing it for generations now.
Right. I'm like, I was talking to Grace earlier today. I was just like, my mom never in her life wanted an SUV, even to this day. Never wanted an SUV. We always had cars. One, because she always wanted to drive a stick. And that justified why we had the station wagon for so long. But it's just like, even after she got out of the station wagon, she never wanted an SUV. She was just like, I just want a car. Like, give
Right.
me a car. And we were a family of 5. So you can't say that it's not possible.
Yeah, no, I was a family of 4, and we always had cars.
Yeah.
The closest we got to not, or we had a Forerunner, an older Forerunner at one point, but I think that was just a car that they were able to buy at the time. It wasn't even so much that they wanted an SUV; it was just a car that was available to buy
Right.
for whatever, money budget crisis we had at the time when I was young. But yeah, you know what I mean. Like, that's only honestly, I think that's the only reason why we got it. I don't think my mom went out of her way like, hey, I want a Forerunner,
I want a
or I
Forerunner.
want
Yeah,
an
no.
SUV because I have 2 kids. Like,
Right.
that was never the point.
We always had cars. I mean, my dad has an SUV now, which I also don't understand because he wants another Sorrento. He wants the new one that's coming out. So I don't understand that one. But yeah, we've always had cars. Just family of 5 with cars. There was 3 of us. We all packed in a car. It was golden. Why you need a Durango for your one child? I'll never know. Why you need 7 seats? Because you have, and then their excuses. Well, what if my kids want to bring their friends? And I'm like, that still doesn't justify the entire car. Like, so you're telling me that you're going to spend an extra 30 grand just because you want to tote your kids' friends around
Billy does
after
not
soccer practice?
Ma'am, I promise you'll be fine.
They can meet you there, I promise. You don't have to.
They got parents with cars.
Right. you can arrange a ride, but I'm sure you're going to be able to fit them in your 5-seat sedan.
That's the market, and they gotta make their money. So I don't blame them for doing what they got to do at that point. That's really all it is. I'm pretty sure no executive at Aston Martin's like, oh, I love making SUVs. Like, they're not. They're not. And if they are, they're not. They're there because it's a money job.
Right. Exactly.
So I mean,
Exactly.
that's just where it's at. That's all it is. It's a money grab.
Now, meanwhile, while we're getting new SUVs, Europe is getting new hot hatches, which brings us into the fact that Hyundai just made a Fiesta ST killer with the i20N. So, we don't even get the Fiesta at all altogether yet. Europe gets the new 3-cylinder powerhouse with 2 doors, and we get nothing. So Hyundai has actually decided to combat.
Is it a 3-cylinder?
It
Oh,
is.
you're talking the Fiesta.
The new ones.
The
yeah,
Fiesta,
the new
right?
no,
Okay.
yeah, the new Fiesta is a 3-cylinder. The i20N gets the Gamma 1.6 turbo, and it's got 204 horse, 200 foot-pounds of torque, in a car that weighs like 2,600 pounds.
It's small. I was actually the video I was watching. They actually let a guy. They were letting I think it was in Australia.
Mhm.
They were letting a content creator there at this. I think that's what he is. Take one of the like late pre-production models. It was like still camouflage and everything around the track, and it was flying.
Oh, I'm sure it was.
It sounded really nice too, actually. It was weird. I don't know if it was me or it was just the angle or what was going on. It did look like the back opposite tire was popping off the ground a little bit while he was taking
Probably was.
I mean,
No,
it probably was. But I was just like, that's interesting. But yeah, no, it looked like he was enjoying it. Oh, he was enjoying it like nobody's business. He was ecstatic. And so I think it's really cool that they're still doing it. The car, from what I can tell in the concept pictures, it looks nice. Like for the back end, the trunk looks really like weird and it's like stretched out for how small of a car it is, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
Like I don't know, it has like a weird like Fiat look to it,
Hmm.
like the way the back end kind of
Yeah, it's like slopes.
joins all together. Yeah, it slopes. It has a weird Fiat look to it. But I mean, it's that should be pretty cool. I wish we had something like that here, but
Yeah, I mean, looks aside, Hyundai's getting to the point where their sports cars are better than most people's now,
yeah,
for a cheaper price, and you still get that warranty. But the thing that excites me about the i20N, with it being a rival to the Fiesta ST, is that working for Ford for all those years, I've driven so many Fiesta STs that you the Fiesta ST is literally a car on my list of, when they get cheap enough, I'm going to buy one, because and they're getting cheap. They're getting cheap already. Like, you can find them for like $7,500 already. But when they get to like that $2,000-3,000 range, where you can just like
I was
hone,
thinking
bro,
Ford.
the amount of power, and it's not like it's a whole lot of power. It's only 197 horse, but the amount of power that you get for that small of a car with the suspension setup that was tuned, I mean, it's phenomenal. It's Yeah, the interior is cheap and plasticky, but the the gear throws are really good. It doesn't rev hang. It's a fun car stock.
Mhm.
So it's not like you even want to. It's not like you want to modify it. Like, every time I drove one and I had one overnight, or I had a BVA one or something like that, I would take it up to scenic drive and just throw the thing in second gear and just have fun, because it do it.
Right.
And you can feel your limit in that car, and how well refined it is, and the fact that most of the people who are driving it already, are basically saying that it's better. That's what's already like, okay, well, I've driven a Fiesta ST, so I know that car is good, which tells me that the i20N's got to be just insane with how well it drives. So, um, if we ever get overseas, that's definitely something I do want to drive, that and i30. So,
Yeah, I really hate that we don't have that segment really popping off like that here. I
yeah,
again, money wise, I know why it's not, but it would definitely be pretty cool to see those cars try to have a market here, but
yeah.
it,
I mean,
it's
to
it's
me,
never
I
it's not
think I
going to.
think if they did it, it would work, just because how well the Veloster Turbo sold when it first came out in the States, and how well it still sells. I mean, how many 1.6Ts do you see around? I mean, you don't see a bunch of N's around, but how many of those do you see just rolling around? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Hmm.
they're everywhere. It's a consistent sell. So I would imagine that if they did, and they could even just rebrand it, because it is an accent. I mean, that's all it is over. It's an accent here for us. But if you just accent in, boom, I'm sure we could sell a pretty good amount of it.
Yeah, especially if it falls near that like $20,000 mark.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? It's supposed to
Yeah,
be, in that 19 to 20 grand mark. You have that. It's a cheap sports hatch. It'll
especially with the
sell.
Fiesta disappearing
Right.
off.
We don't even have it in the States anymore. So
Yeah,
a gap filler in the market,
easy market to take over now.
Hey, what do
So
we know? We're just normal car enthusiasts. We don't know anything.
right
We're not
in the
doing
car
that.
business.
Right. You know,
Yeah,
somebody
no, it
hire us. Tell us
definitely
what it
makes
is.
sense. It definitely would make a lot of sense to try to bring it over. Because even Chevy never really had anything in that small of a car. Who
No,
else? Who else has something that small? Fiat.
the
Like
Fiat 500, yeah, which
is
that's
that really
that's
it?
leaving. Yeah, unless we
Yeah,
get the
I don't
Yaris,
know,
the
but
GR Yaris would be cool. If we get that, if we got
that
that,
would
that
be
would be
kind of cool. That would be its direct competition. But I don't know. I don't know if it would sell, even though the market it would be the sole car in that market. I just don't think there's that many people going into that market in general, which I think is why it's disappeared. But it would still be cool to have it. I think that would just be an extra car for them to sell. But I don't know. I'm not gonna hold my breath on it. That's for sure.
Oh no, definitely. I know
Yeah,
that we're probably not going to get it. I'm not even going to think about
hope
it.
it.
But
Yeah, hope we get the hopes up in any way.
I mean, that's just like we're losing the Elantra GT. They're axing that all together. So now we're going to get a 5-door hatch from them
That's a
anymore.
normal hatch. That's a normal sized hatch.
Right. And I mean, see, and that the thing about it was, for me, is with Hyundai, I understand why we have the Veloster and understand it's like a, it's an exotic car, a unique design. But I feel like they would have gotten such a better reputation if they would have brought the sportier Elantras over. Because Europe has had, even before we got the Veloster in, they had the i30 R spec, which was a 3-door hatch version of the Elantra GT that we had in the States, and it came with the 1.6 turbo and all that kind of stuff too. So, I mean, I feel like having the 3 and 5-door hatches here in the States probably would have made it a lot better of a selling segment, because it would have been more of a direct competitor with the GTI and stuff. So once they brought the in trim level out to the States with the 5 and the 3-door hatch version of the Elantra GT, it probably would have. I mean, we probably would be able to keep them, because dealerships can barely keep the Veloster in as it is, So I feel like that would have been.
Imagine once they get the automatic on those. Ooh,
oh man,
they're gonna be flying off them.
Oh, forget it. I mean, every time I see one, or I see that one pops up at a dealership, it's gone within like 72 hours. It's just, even when, living in Phoenix when they first came out. I mean, I think Larry Miller had like 3 and they were gone.
Yeah.
Everybody else like had 1 and it was instantaneously gone. And it's just, I don't know. Those cars are as good as it is. I just feel like it would have broadened their market a little bit better if we would have had the 5-door Elantra GT in that trim level rather than the Veloster. But I can understand why they did it to the Veloster, because they were appealing to the younger market.
The Veloster has been popular already too.
So exactly, yeah. So I mean, it makes sense. I can understand why, but I feel like it would have gained a better reputation for Hyundai, because I mean, everybody's still under the conception that they're throwaway cars. And it's just like, they're so much further from that you just, what I'm saying? Like, we're no longer in that point of ownership with them. People are still like, oh, well, I'm going to pay. They're like, well, we're going to end up getting the vehicle and it's going to last me 5 years and I'm just going to get rid of it. Or I'm only going to buy this for my kid because I know he's going to tear it up. But I was even talking to my dad about it the other day. The interiors, just from my year to now, it's night and day.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And when I bought my car, I wasn't even, upset by the interior quality, because the leather was there and everything it fit well. It was good quality. But even now, even now, like, I'm like, man, my car is crap compared to these new ones where, everything is just soft to the touch, and everything, the vehicle's silent when you're on the road, and they perform well, they handle well, they come with good tires now. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're no longer in that point of Hyundai's a throwaway car. And I've never thought that, just because my parents have been driving them since the early 90s. So they were never throwaway cars to me, because that's all we had.
Right.
But I mean, even now, it's just like, you guys, they bash on them so much, but you just don't realize how much quality you get for the money that you pay,
No, I mean, yeah, I've said it way too many times already on the show. I've been so Toyota biased just because that's what I sold.
Mm-hmm.
But the next car I get my sister into is probably gonna be Hyundai or Kia for sure. She really likes the K5. If it's not something there, it'll be something else in that lineup or something Hyundai related. That's where I'm at. Big thing because of the warranty, and she drives so damn much. But the quality is super nice. And even though I told you the other day when I was checking out the new Highlander redesign, there was the interior. I don't want to say it reminded me of Kia, but when I was looking, it kind of looked, not so much the layout, but just how everything felt. I was like, dang, this kind of looks like Isaiah's Kia. Like, it just feels nice. Yeah. And then I was just more like, you made me just realize, like, yeah, Hyundai Kia has really come a long way from your car. Really, this was, when you just said that, you're not wrong at all. Because like, your car, like, it's fine for what you needed, but like, in the grand scheme of things, especially compared to now, to a lot of interiors, it didn't age well at all.
Right, exactly. It's just like, and it's still not even a knock to my interior, because it's not like my interior is all that plasticky or or it faded or anything like that. I mean, besides my steering wheel issues, which I'll never understand, because the leather just kept falling apart on the thing. I'm on my third one, guys, but it's better. I mean, my leather hasn't started to crack. I've got 70,000 miles. The cloth held up really well. I mean, my dashboard is gorgeous, but even now, that compared to a new Forte, I'm just like, man, this is really nice. Like, is that hand leather
Right.
stitching right there? Is that a soft to
Right.
touch leather right there? Like, what in the world? And it's just like,
That K5 interior is so off.
it's so nice. And then it's like, okay, I'm looking at that, but then I'm also looking at the price tag, and it's just like, dude, this is still
Yes.
$5,000 cheaper than the next Civic or the next Corolla or the
A
next, you know what I'm
Camry.
saying? Like the K5 versus the Camry. It's just like, this is
Oh
20.
yeah.
This starts at 23.5. A Camry starts at what? Like,
Yeah.
you know
If
what I'm
I was
saying?
still selling and someone came in saying they were comparing to the K5, oh, oh,
It's like,
oh,
how do I make this better?
how am I gonna sell this one?
It's still a Toyota, guys.
It's your maintenance is covered for 2 years. Yeah, it is at Kia too.
Yeah,
So
it's just. I mean, you can't beat it anymore. I hate that people still have that notion, but Korean cars are no longer what they used to
I've
be.
I've been seeing a lot of the K5s around. I've been on even on social media, like
Hmm.
like I don't know, on Twitter I always see some random stuff about people buying cars. There's been a lot of K5s on there, and then just on the road in general.
Hmm.
I'm seeing them so much, so they're
And I mean,
definitely
and I've gotten to the point where I mean, I've been recommending them for years, but it's just like everybody's like, well, I'm just going to get another Camry, or I'm just going to go get another Taurus, or I'm going to go get an Explorer. I'm like, well, have you tried the Korean alternative? Like, you want to save 10 grand? Because it's like
had
when
a
me
better
and
warranty.
yeah, when me and Grace shopped for the Sorrento, I mean, we didn't just immediately go to Kia. You know what I'm saying? We shopped Volkswagen, we shopped the Subaru, we shopped an Explorer, we shopped a Traverse, and it was just like I couldn't get as nice of a car for the money that we were going to spend that I got for the Sorrento.
Yeah,
Because I mean, my Sorrento is literally like three boxes of options away from being an SX, and I paid 27 grand. You know, and it's like if I tried to get, I guess you would compare that to like
you
an
said 27.
XLE. I paid 27 G's. That's it. So the
Wow.
MSRP was 36 like 8, but at the time I got my employee discount, and then they were offering $8,500 off of them because the Tellurides had just come out. So that plus the employee discount, and then I took all the wonderful dealer add-ons off of it. I mean, we walked out with like 20. It was like 27.9 after tax title license.
You still said MSRP was 36.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? Like I got the
you're
equivalent of like what an XLE Highlander.
yeah, basically, and that was 42 to 3 depending on what was on it.
The
And Toyota never has rebates like that, so
Yeah, the equivalent Explorer that we looked at was almost 40 grand. It was like 39 something. The equivalent Traverse that we looked at was like 38. The Volkswagen Atlas started at 36,
wait,
and that came with cloth.
does yours have the panoramic sunroof?
I have a pano roof.
Yeah, no. So the only time you got a panel roof in the Highlander, you're at a limited platinum.
No, yeah, literally. I have the digital dash like the SX. I have the pano roof. The only things I don't have that the SX has is the running boards, the LED headlights and taillights, and I don't have the folding mirrors. Oh, and the AC seats. That's it.
Yeah.
That's all I'm missing. And then it's got a functional third row. I can get back there. I can sit back there and be comfortable.
Right.
It's got enough room for everybody, and I spent a fraction of the money that I was spent for the competitors.
Yeah, people need to take Hyundai Kia serious, man.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, and
It's insane.
coming. It's definitely coming around. But yeah, it's still funny. Like at work, I don't know. Other advisors will always say something about Hyundai Kia. And I'm like, if you're talking about anything 10 years or newer, you're wrong.
Yeah, I mean, like once they got into their stride, right around like 2010, 2011,
Yeah.
it was over.
Right.
It was over. Well, this guy, our topic this week, our actual topic, is Ford versus Chevy, the ultimate historical all American battle. Who's your pick?
Oh, are we talking everything like trucks, SUVs, or
Whole lineup,
just everything?
everything,
Okay, now we're all of history.
all of history.
Oh wow, that's real tough. So, because for the longest, I feel like at least from what I know, what I've experienced, and what I've seen, especially recently, Chevy Chevy always has been able to one up Ford like quickly. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? If that makes sense. So like, there's always like the things here and there that like makes Chevy so much better than Ford. But I don't think Ford has always taken the first revolutionary steps and everything, almost, if you will.
Yeah, which is
So
true. Yeah.
it's hard. That one's hard, honestly, because like
Well, see, like for me, it was hard because I have to keep it strictly American because if I start to include worldwide Chevy like GM versus Ford, it's not it's even harder to compare because you got to remember they have Ford GM always had all those auxiliary companies which were just rebadged Chevys or rebadged Opels, but you can never have Fords that were built like British Fords. British Ford literally killed the game all the way through the 80s and the 90s and shoot even now.
with
You
the
know,
RS.
that's how we got the Focus RS and the Fiesta ST and cars like that. So you got to remember, we just didn't get, I have to say, we didn't get the cool Fords. At least with Chevy would just rebadge it and bring it to the States. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, like
With
that's
Ford,
like
it was like, nah, we're not. The American market's not going to want that. Well, you guys can have that, and it's just like, no, we want that. Like, no. Like that dual overhead cam 4-cylinder turbo that you had in the '80s. Why did we not get that? Like we were still stuck with single overhead cam, crappy. Just Fords in the '80s made 80 horsepower, and they thought that was okay. Meanwhile, overseas, they're getting cars that make 210 and plus. And it's just
right.
like we couldn't get. We don't deserve that. We the American market who has been created because of you. We don't get the cool, fast, fun stuff.
If we if we strictly left it, let's say trucks, SUVs, Ford every day, I think they, not even just taking sales numbers out the window, like they were one, they invented the truck. I mean, come on, come on. Literally
Okay,
could not
this is
have trucks
true.
without them. Like I wasn't even thinking about that at first, but I just thought of it right now. Like, but like they always took those kind of big steps with like even like things like the Bronco and things like that. Um, I just think Chevy was always, that's probably the one thing Chevy's always been like just catching up, is probably within the truck realm.
Mm-hmm.
Um, if we're talking sports and muscle cars, I think I'm picking Chevy.
This is true.
I think I'm picking
They're
Chevy.
more refined.
They've always been more refined, is the thing. Like Ford always
Yeah.
kind of goes through these weird stages where it's just like we're kind of trying to keep it piece it together. You know what I mean?
And see, that's my
Like
thing. That's where this is where American market separates from the British market because the British cars were phenomenal,
right.
but we got the crappy handling, can't take a corner Fords.
Would
While GM's just like, here's independent rear suspension and MagnaRide and have this fun.
Are the GTs
Like
would you consider GTs Ford? I mean, British built? Yeah, right.
they are, yes, no,
Yeah.
they
So yeah,
aren't. They aren't American. They're definitely British. Like
right. So
the
like,
British side of Ford literally built the chassis and designed the car, and then they gave it to Carroll Shelby to fine tune. So how everybody's like, oh well, you know, Carroll Shelby built the GT, you know, the Ford GT. Yes, technically he fine tuned it for Le Mans to win against Ferrari. Yes, he put all the man hours into fine tuning the car, but they shipped the car from England to the States
right.
so he could do that. You know what I'm saying? And initially it had the smaller blocked V8 from overseas, you know, the 289, and so now we get to here, and this is where like, okay, well, it's not enough power. We need to go faster. So that's where Ford's like, okay, we'll give them the 427. We'll drop the big honking Cobra Jet motor that we've had and put that in there. But outside of the motor, that entire car is European, and it makes sense. I can understand, but
yeah,
think about GM, where we've had the Corvette here for
ever
decades, and it's always been okay. The C3s suck, but it's always been a great car.
Also, no sports cars from that era.
The gas crisis, as Donut Media likes to refer to.
Yeah. that they hate referencing at this point. Like, they honestly hate referencing.
They're like, okay, guys, I'm sorry, we have to reference the gas crisis, but it's true.
Anything from that era is just it sucks. It's everything. Nothing from that era. They look nice, but nothing from that era.
150 horsepower anemic V8s. Like, that doesn't even sound.
That's not their fault. It's really not their fault. I don't hold anything against any car maker or automaker from that era.
In the 70s, yes.
In the 70s, you just kind of have to put a little asterisk next to it and just kind of take it. Like, they were just doing what they could do to survive.
Basically. So we could have modes of transportation at that point.
Right. So, but yeah, no, and this is crazy because I have a Mustang in my driveway right now. But I'm picking Camaro even now. Then, like, or what did I say? Chevy. I'm sorry, I'm picking Chevy.
Yeah.
Something the Camaros and especially as of late, but the Corvette's always been just ready to go. Camaros.
It's been a very good handling vehicle to drive. The Stingrays from the 60s, the C4. The C4, I'm gonna be honest, the C4 Corvette is a slept-on generation. It was a very long generation of Corvette, which is probably why no one necessarily likes it. But considering the era and the time and the technology that we had at that point in time, the C4 was phenomenal for its time. It handles very well. They're cheap now. Like, you can get a nice one for $4 or $5 grand. And I mean, it's still a Corvette.
Right.
It's got iffy electrics every now and again, but it's, you can't plague a car from the 80s with electrics. It's just something that went wrong.
Barely starting to figure it out is what it was.
So, I mean, but Chevy just hasn't had a miss with those. As far as Ford goes, I'm with you on the trucks, kinda. Because I feel like if you invest in a Chevy and you maintain a Chevy, you can't kill a Chevy. It's really hard to kill a Chevy truck. A Ford, a Ford.
Diesel line. Oh yeah, diesel. Chevy's been killing the game for way too long. Diesel wise.
Because Ford had a little bit of a few misses with the diesels. They've had a few misses, but in order to have a reliable F-150 or 250, you have to option them right, and you have to know which ones to get, and you have to know what to look for. And because of that, it kind of deters me from saying that they're the better truck manufacturer, even though personally, I'm gonna be real honest with you, when I buy my pickup, it's probably going to be an F-150. But I've been in the game long enough with their manufacturer as an employee that I know exactly I know how to option it, what package to get, and what year to buy, because I'm not going to have issues with those certain parameters. But the fact that you have to do that is where it's just kind of like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't matter if you get a 4.3 V6 Chevrolet or a 5.3 or a 6.0 or a 6.6 Duramax. It's always going to be a reliable pickup, Whereas with Fords, if you have a 5.0, you're going to have EGR issues. If you have a 3.5 from 2010 to 2013, you'll have turbo issues. But it's like, you have to know, you can't get a 6.0 or you have to bulletproof it for the diesel. You can't get a 6.4 because they leak. But you know what I'm saying? So it's that part of it where it's just kind of like, you can't say that they're the superior when you have to nitpick in order to get the superior, Whereas Chevy, doesn't matter the lineup. you get from a work truck to the high country. You're gonna have a good pickup.
Right. No, that's fair. I don't think I didn't mean it so much like today, just like if I was going to go buy a truck. I just kind of meant over time. I think
This is
like
true.
Ford is the superior. I don't want to say the superior.
They outsell them, like you said. Sales numbers aside, Ford does sell, but to me, that's the other thing with Ford versus Chevy is with Chevy, even though you pay a little bit more, you get the quality. With Ford, they're the cheaper option,
right,
of the two. You know what I'm saying? You kind of get more value there. But even now, the older that we're getting into the manufacturer, even now, it's just kind of like the prices are steeper on the Fords almost. You know, that Ford F-150 is more expensive than a equivalent Chevrolet pickup. You know, so it's like, But then you have pickups like the Ranger versus Colorado. I'm buying a Ranger all day, day long. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
My first car was a Ranger, which I think kind of biases me. But even then, okay, hold on, let's asterisk that. That was because that was a Mazda. The Ranger was a Mazda, so we can't necessarily use that as an example.
Yeah.
Well, this is Chevy S10s were Isuzus, so that's also
wasn't the Mazda Ford.
No. Mazda. So Ford built the chassis, Mazda built the engines, except for the 4-liter that I had, which of course had
problems. Right, which is why I had problems.
Exactly. Had it been a 2.3 or a 3L, we'd have been straight. But because I had the 4.0.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it was an overhead valve, so it wasn't even a single overhead cam yet. Which the equivalent to the Chevrolet, though. I mean, it was an Isuzu, so I can't necessarily say that the Ranger was better because it was a Mazda, because the S10 was what it was because it was an Isuzu. But the 4.34 tech that went in was strictly Chevrolet, and it was really good. So there is that too. You know, bigger motor for bigger motor, the Chevrolet is a better, more reliable engine than the Ford was. Truck wise, it's kind of a toss up depending on what you're going to get. If I had to get a strict 1500 tow pig, I'm probably going to get a 150 just because EcoBoost and massive amounts of torque. But if I had to get a diesel, it's kind of a hard decision between that and a Duramax, because I've seen what can go wrong on a Power Stroke, and I've seen the wonderful service bills that come and amount to that. So,
right.
That's just like, you know, I used to praise the 6.7 so much as far as the new Power Stroke goes, to only find out when I came back to Ford after being at Honda for so long that the 6.7s were plagued with fuel rail issues, and they leak like a sieve when they go bad. So it's like, okay, now I have a fire risk. And then I also owe the shop $5,000 to do it. So it's like, do I really want to get a 6.7? You know? So there's that with the trucks. As far as cars go, again, strictly American for American, there's probably just as many odd Fords that I want to buy as there are Chevys, which is where I'm still kind of in the middle, because you have the 89 show, but then you've also got the Chevrolet X11 Citation that had a 2.8 liter V6 that was a 5-speed back in the late 80s, which was still cool. It wasn't as powerful as a show, but it was still, you know, a cool vehicle to have. You had the Z20 Ford Cavaliers, and you know, the high output 2.4 liters that Chevrolet designed, which were great motors in the beginning, which later on kind of went down the road and got a little. But it's just, I have to teeter on any of the subjects, because it's just, they all have their issues, but it's which one do I enjoy driving more at that moment, you know? Because GM as a whole, I mean, they always had those banging sleepers that no one knew about, like the Pontiac GTP that'll fry the front tires. Yeah. Or, you know what I'm saying? But then it's just like, but then you had the V8 Taurus that Ford had in the mid-90s. Like, who thought to put a front-wheel drive V8 together and make that happen, you know?
The Impala there.
Yeah, then you had the Impala SS from the mid-2000s with the 5-point. Yeah, I'm like,
or the HHR SS.
Oh, bro, that's pretty fire though. That's, do you
Like
know you
that
can
is
get that in
so
a panel
random.
van version with like no windows on the back? Yeah.
Really? How many
Yeah.
did they make of those? Like 10?
I don't know, but it's cool that you can get it. That's all that really matters is the fact
What
that
it
you can
did
get a
I get
panel
the did I get the supercharged four cylinder or the?
the supercharged and the turbocharged. It got
Oh,
both
so
of them.
that followed the
The
same.
Cobalt SS
Mm,
platform, yeah.
okay.
So I mean, you had that, but then you had cars like the wonderful 2003 Terminator, which is just going to be one of the all-time greatest Mustangs to ever
Right.
touch the freaking asphalt. I mean, come on. It
Right.
was 2003. We had it was 390 horsepower in 2003.
Yeah.
We have like we're not too far from that now. So and
Right.
and think about how small that version of the Mustang is and how light that version of the Mustang is. So that's kind of a lot. But yeah, then you have like you said you had the SLP Firehawk Trans Am and the Z28 Camaro from that era, where that was 350 horsepower and I mean insane on the track. So
Right.
how can you? It's hard to split them up because where you had one, you had the other. What I like about Chevrolet is that, like you were saying, they always find a way to one up them. But it's always funny because when Ford brings out whatever they're going to bring out,
Chevy just
Chevy's
comes
already
right back.
well, yeah, Chevy was already in development for whatever they're going to bring out, and it's just like
Right.
so when for instance when the S550 came out, the Camaro was due for a generation change.
It was.
So
Yeah, a
it
year
was
later.
like, yeah, it was like, okay, here comes the Mustang in 2015. Like, yeah, we got 420 horsepower and independent rear suspension and da 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 da. And here comes Chevrolet, like, hello, here's our Magna Ride 6th gen Camaro with 455 horsepower and
And
455.
455 pound-feet of torque.
And it's just like, take that Ford, and Ford had to like catch up, and it took them almost 3 years to catch up to Chevrolet. And here Chevrolet comes with, oh, well, here's our ZL1 6th gen with 640 horsepower. Take that. And it's just like, then we had to wait till now, the year 2020, to get the GT500 to even equivalent.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, so now we have the GT500. Supposedly the Camaro is going out of production, but if they don't come out of production, what are they going to one up Ford with the GT500 is my question.
Probably another Z28. I think that honestly that's all that's left.
But the Z28 is the track capable Camaro of all of them.
Right.
So I wouldn't think they would try and one up the GT500 with the Z28 because
the GT500 does come with the track pack. So I would imagine they would go the Z28 route. Maybe I don't know what engine they would use, but I don't know. Try to output what's the L or the Z01 gets with the LS7, the supercharger,
the
LS
LT4.
What do they call it? LT4.
But that's the thing is the reason why I was saying that is because none of the Z28s in history have been boosted.
Yeah.
Because
but neither had. I don't think any of the Z06s had been until this year. So like.
Yes. I'll give you that because the C7 was the first boosted Z06 that we've had, but C6 ZR1 was the first boosted ZR1 because the previous ZR1 in the early 90s was a dual overhead cam V8, which they're bringing back. I don't know if you've heard.
No, I did not. Oh, wait, it wasn't push rod?
No.
Oh.
So in it was like 91 or 92, Chevrolet designed a all aluminum dual overhead cam V8 that was the LT something 6.
That's the crazy part.
6.
Everything Chevy does is still push rod, and they're still getting the numbers they're getting.
Yeah.
So like, what happens when they switch to dual overhead cam?
Well, that's the thing. So all of their V6s were push rod up until the 6th gen Camaro, and then the 6th gen Camaro, they're just like, hey, here's this wonderful dual overhead cam V6 that makes 335 horsepower. Like, that was a big jump from their previous 6-cylinder motors, all across the board. And how efficient that engine is, and how torquey that engine is, and how high that engine revs. I'm not gonna lie to you. If I had the money to buy an SS, and I was like rich, I'd probably get like a ZL1, and then my in between Camaro would be a V6 RS, just because that car at 7,500 RPM sounds insane. So considering that and the fact that it's lighter in the front and it's a it comes with the track pack suspension and things like that, that is a wonderful GT car for whoever doesn't care about the fact that they're not getting a V8 Camaro.
Right.
You know? So it's a very capable car. Don't get me wrong. But Chevrolet has been push rodding it since push rod. Even
Right.
the C8's got a push rod. Come on.
Right.
So supposedly they're coming back out with another dual overhead cam V8, which
probably going to be for the Corvette though. No.
Yes. So I think it's going to be in the Z06 version of the new C8, which is cool.
Are they going to boost it?
I don't know. I doubt it if it's going to be dual overhead cam. They might boost the ZR1 version of that.
If they can get into the 600 mark without boosting it, that'd be kind of cool.
I don't doubt that they will.
Yeah, I mean they're already at 4.9, almost 5, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So you figure what's is it a 6.2 that's in there right now?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, they can probably, especially if they do
easily
like a 7-liter with a dual overhead camera.
I don't think they have to go that big. They don't have to go big at all. They could keep 6.2. They literally could. They could keep 6.2, run dual overhead cams, build it all on one block, and we'll probably be the way that they can fine tune it and get the camshaft lobe to the right. Oh, bro, forget it. We're going to be easy 600 horsepower with like a 75, 8,000 RPM red line.
Ugh.
And imagine if they go flat plane crank.
Oh. Oh man.
You get a flat plane crank in that, bro. It's gonna be hollering in there. Like just forget it. So I think if they build a Z28, if they continue it, it'll probably end up getting that engine. The dual overhead cam, flat crank, if it gets a flat plane, but they're gonna that would be the equivalent.
But even then let's say I don't know, just throw a random number. Let's say it gets 620 or 650. They probably need to get closer to the same. It would have to get close to the same horsepower mark as the previous Z06. But that's still not.
Well, that's 640. So, 650. Sorry, it's 650 because it's the Corvette. So, to me, I don't think they necessarily have to one up the previous Z06, considering the fact because the ZL, it's mid-engine. It's a smaller car. It's lighter. They don't necessarily have to one up it.
Well, I was thinking. Sorry, I was kind of circling back to the Camaro. Is that it's not? It's still horsepower wise. It's still going to be under the
GT500. Well, that's the thing. That's why I'm saying the Z28 is not really a comparison to the GT500. It's more of a Boss 302 427 Laguna Seca type competitor because that was Ford's answer to Track Mustang. Same thing with the.
So the ZL1 1LE would be more.
Would be the
competitor for the
GT500. Yeah.
Or 500?
Yeah, the 500. The ZL1's more the competition for the 500, which it was in the beginning when it first came out anyway, because at that time, that's when GT500 was in its prime 13, 14.
So then if they were to make a Z28, would that be more in line for the 350?
Mm-hmm.
Oh. Which they have no reason to because the 350 is out of production now.
Exactly. But then you still get that naturally aspirated high rev dual overhead cam motor in a lightweight, stripped out Camaro. It's going to be
for the next generation Camaro. Really, is probably what I would do at this point.
But that's my thing. That's if they keep it in production because supposedly they're taking it away, which I don't see why. I understand y'all did it 10 years ago, but right now is not the time to pull it out of the game.
Yeah, no, it's not. I understand why they did then, but yeah, no, there's no reason why the sports cars in general, in all walks of life, Ford bangers to V8s are
3 cylinders. You got to say 3 cylinders now.
Excuse me. Sorry. Got forced induction, man. You got to love it. But yeah, no, there's no reason why they should. Camaros are hot. I understand that. The thing is though, like, if they're really just comparing it off of sales numbers, that's just the wrong way to do it. Like, there's so much going for really in general that segment, because like realizing that, I realized it, realizing I can get into a muscle car at that price point.
Yeah.
Like even brand new, like it's not, some of the stuff you're getting out of these cars brand new is pretty insane for the price point.
Well, think about the new trim level for the Camaros that came out this year for the LT1
Right.
version, where it's a base model Camaro with a
With the
V8.
stuff like yeah, and what I think we're really I think the whole mindset or idea or misconception of like, oh, sports cars are just way more expensive than just regular cars, and you look at it like I can easily go find a Camry or an Avalon that's going to be damn near the same price as some of these brand new
Hmm.
V8 cars. You
Hmm.
know what I mean? Why not do it? And there's plenty of people that are around the same age group as myself, or maybe a tad bit older, a tad bit younger, that are
Hmm.
going to be looking for that. So it's
Hmm.
like, why get out of that market? Because I understand, like, you're not going to win all of them over, because there's some people that just they're not car people,
Hmm.
or they need the space because they happen to already have a family. Like,
Hmm.
you know what I mean? Like, we get that, but at the end of the day, like, now I don't think now is the time to be dropping out of the sports car world like that. So I don't know why they would. I
Yeah.
really don't. Like I said, I understand the Camaro's not selling as much as the Mustang, because it's not the cheaper option of the two,
But it is the better
but
car.
it is the better car. So like that's that's that was the compromise I knew I was taking. I could have easily waited for the Camaro that I wanted, because
Hmm.
I wanted the, but I was so specific in what I wanted out of the Camaro. Now we realized that it was going to be pretty
Hard to
hard,
find.
because
Yeah.
they were either hard to find, or the second they were available, they were
Or
gone.
saw them. Yeah,
Because
they're
I
just
was I
sold.
was specifically looking for the SS with the 1LE package,
Hmm.
and I just randomly looked some up the other day, and then I checked them again, and most of them were gone. There was all brand new listings from what I had saw before. So I knew when I bought the Mustang, I was buying the cheaper of the two and the more attainable. So
Yeah,
that's
at the time, yeah. And it's so funny because 10 speed versus 10 speed in that car, it's the same transmission because they built it together.
right.
But driving a 10 speed Camaro compared to driving a 10 speed Mustang, the Camaro just feels like it's a rocket ship. And it's the same horsepower. It's
Just
just the
more
power delivery is different, and the chassis is different. Literally putting my foot in that LT1 SS that I had that was a 10 speed for rental, it sunk you in your seat and it left. Not that your car doesn't do that, but it takes a second. It's got to get up there to get up and go. And
It's all. I hate that it feels like I'm waiting for boost sometimes. Like, it's so dumb.
like I
But
say, I mean, to me, the Mustang is the Honda of the muscle car world because you got to rev them out
mhm,
to get what you want out of them. Whereas the Camaro, because it's still push rod and it's the bigger V8, that torque is there instantaneously. And yes, you don't have that high of a RPM, but even then, you don't feel a power dip.
right,
You know, you change that thing at 6,500 RPM, it's still moving to the next gear. But with the Mustang, it's like, okay, I got to get up to 7,500. It'll change gear, but it's going to drop out of the power band every time I change the gear. You know,
yeah, it's rough.
so it's like we've got to figure either we're going to have to figure that out, Ford.
Um,
Like I get what you're doing. We got the smaller 302 and it's high rev and blah 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 blah. But I mean, the Chevy just feels like it's got turbos
help
attached to it.
me,
Right.
help me.
I'm like, it feels as if the 6.2 is boosted compared to the 5.0, because it freight trains. You put your foot in it, it
Right,
just goes and goes and goes and goes. Where you just don't get that out of the Mustang. So
right.
they both to me have their hits or miss, but I can't necessarily choose one.
Yeah,
As epic as this battle is, as a car enthusiast, I'm perturbed because GM has made so many amazing cars, the Chevy SS, the Z28, but then you've got Ford where they've just come out of nowhere with powerful this and powerful that, and we've got the newest innovation in this technology, and we've got the newest, so it's hard to take both of them and kind of dissect it. Car wise, there's Chevys I'd buy. Same thing with Ford. Truck wise, there's Chevys I'd buy. The same thing with Ford. So I can't I can't just necessarily pick one or the other because they both touch
yeah.
me in different
Whoa.
ways. Okay, not that way. Nothing, no spot.
Did you give him permission?
All right, guys, let's get into some track daily crush and wrap this up. So this week we've got 3 good ones. One is hilarious.
Yeah.
So first one, we've got the '93 Fox Body Mustang Cobra, the last hurrah of the notchback and hatchback Fox bodies. Then we've got the '99 Camaro Z28 and the '02 Pontiac Firehawk. So I'm gonna go first because
yeah, go ahead.
This one makes me feel all warm and fuzzy inside. I am going to crush the Camaro because the Trans Am just appeals to me better. I'm not one of those guys who hates on the Catfish Camaro, but the Trans Am just makes me. It just looks angrier and it looks cooler.
No, it's basically the same car.
It's the same car. Well, I mean, the Firehawk is a little bit more fine-tuned and it's got a little more horsepower, but just I can't get over the looks. So I'm going to daily the Firehawk.
Okay.
And I'm going to track the Cobra because that is a very light, very capable car. Not only in its time, but even now, it's not the fastest in a straight line, but because it's got the suspension tuning from SVT and it's got the short shifter and the 220 horse out of that 5.0 that's still push rod, and I can cam it and, just go all out because Mustangs have the wonderful world of American muscle that just gives you all of the parts. You can, or LMR for that matter. So, I mean, either one of those sites, you just kind of go, I need to find this. And they're like, yes, we have it. So there's that piece of it. But I just want to look cool in a Firehawk because Firehawks aren't that common. And
that's fair.
It's a Trans Am with pop-up headlights. So down headlight, exactly. So I can't deny the fact that I would daily a beautiful, beautiful black Firehawk.
That's fair. I think if it was the year of, if it was Martin's generation of Camaro, or not generation, Martin's years before the facelift, I think I would pick the Camaro over the Pontiac, but just off that, because it is the Catfish one, I'm probably picking the Firehawk to daily as well, because it definitely is. It's definitely different. It's a lot more aggressive, a lot meaner, but I'm still getting basically the same exact thing out of it as far as what I wanted for it. So I'm on the same boat with you there. I'll crush the Camaro, and then I'll for the same exact reason, I'll track the Cobra. Like I said, if it was the pre-Catfish Camaro, I'd pick that just because I love the ways those look. I love Martin's car. I love Martin's Camaro.
I do too. I just race car
Sorry,
problems.
Martin. Yeah, but yeah, I absolutely love his car, and I don't know what, like the Firehawk, even Martin's year, the Firehawk still looks way better.
Yeah,
but there's something about that generation Camaro or that year of Camaro I love. I always have. So yeah. I'm on the same boat with you on that one, though.
Yeah, I'd have to get that '93 Cobra in the Calypso green though, because it's so pretty.
Oh yes, yes.
Yeah, gotta have that color. I mean, it is
absolutely
beautiful. Another thing that attracts me to the Pontiac more than the Camaro though is the interior. I like the interior setup in the Pontiac a little bit better. It's got the tri-level air vents in them, so they're like circular vents that go across the top. And I like the steering wheel in the Pontiac better too, as well as the gauge cluster. It's not crazy different, but it's a little bit different. So I definitely would go that route. I all of these cars I have wanted to or have owned at some point in my life. So I need more Fox body in my life.
Oh, I want one so bad. I do.
It sucks though, because you got to pay a premium now. Everybody wants $5,500 or more, and I'm like, dude, this thing is run to the freaking ground. Can I please just give you $2,500 so I can take it home? Next on the Track's Daily Crush list is the big V8 sedan Autobahn bombers. So we've got an 08 Mercedes E63, an 08 M3, which really isn't the equivalent to the E63. I just like the M3 over the M5 of that generation because I like the V8 over the V10. So that's why I chose that one. And then you have the 08 Jaguar XFR, which is the supercharged 5-liter version of the XF. With me, I'm dailying the Jag because it's a Jag. Not only because it's a Jag. Well, it's a Ford-based power plant because they were still partners with Ford at the time, so I'm cool with that. The transmission is a ZF 8-speed, so it's not terrible. It's very expensive to service because it's expensive to service in my Charger. But all the electrics is where the issues are. And
as every Jaguar,
right? Which it doesn't really bother me because why would I need AC? Because the issue with those is the vents are automatic, and when you start them, it's like a flush dash. But when you start the car and turn the AC on, the vents come up.
Ew.
It's a whole deal. So that goes wrong in them. The radios go wrong in them. They just have electric gremlins. But I would so look across that because I have a 500 horsepower Jag that I can, walk to, and it's so pretty. And I can rust the tires and no one know because it has a little tiny R badge and it looks the same as every XF on the road. So I'm like totally going to do that. I am going to trash the AMG because I kind of like Mercedes, but not enough to buy a Mercedes. So I'm going to trash the Mercedes and I'm going to track the M3 because you can get a 4-door version with the V8 and a manual. So BMW it is for the track.
So track. Oh no, here, hold on. Okay, I'm a daily the Benz.
Rightfully so. I'm cool with that.
The Benz, and all issues aside, interior wise, Mercedes is always just top notch with their interior, so I'm okay with living with that. Now I'm a crush the Jaguar. I'm gonna crush the Jaguar. Now, the reason being, I may ruin this for you. You can't tell me looking at that 2008 that it doesn't look like just a wider Buick Regal.
I'll give you that.
Is it the Regal? Is that the one that gets the supercharger?
That looks so
like stretch and like
the lacrosse.
Like it down, like it looks like it slopes down on itself.
Yeah, it's the lacrosse.
It looks like a stretched out Regal. So no, I'm good. I'll pass on that. And I'm also, as a daily, I'm not trying to deal with all those issues. Like, I have money or not, I just don't. Like, I'm being a customer at that point. I'm not buying a luxury car to deal with problems like that. I'm not. I'm being that person right now, and then I'm gonna track the BMW, the M3 for M reasons. But
exactly.
So yeah,
I will give you that. So last track daily crush is
this one. I laughed so hard when I saw this.
Yeah, this is a comedical one right here. We have a 1980 Yugo, a 1998 Daewoo Lanos, which is a little hatchback 2-door thing, and this is a tribute to our best friend Angel, a 2005 Chevy Aveo automatic, because no one deserves to have fun in that thing.
An LS though.
I still can't believe he put that badge on the car. It's an
LS1.
LS1 Aveo. Yeah, sure, bud.
So I know nothing about Daewoo or what's the other one called? Yugo.
So Daewoo's a dead Korean company.
Yeah, I've seen it now that I look it up. I've seen this car before. I've seen that grill pattern, I should say, before. Now, I'm gonna, I think I'm gonna crush the Daewoo because I just am. I can't. I don't even want to try to explain that. I'm gonna track the Yugo
Why?
because follow me here, and this is only because this happened to me 2 nights ago or last night. I was, or I don't even remember where I was coming back. Oh, it was on Thursday now. I was coming back from my parents, and this random old car blew by me on the highway, like trying to like race me. I think it was a Volkswagen of some sort, but it was around the same ages and body style aesthetic as this car right here. And it was actually impressive because he blew by me, and I'm pretty sure he had stuff done to the car. And I was like, oh, all right, cool. Props to you, man. So that's the only reason why I'm tracking that, because if I built it in a way to where I can actually make it respectable on the track, I feel like I would get the same response. People like, oh, good for you. Only reason why I'm doing it is because this looks like a car that blew by me the other night. The only reason why I'm doing it, and then I'll just daily the Chevy because I'm familiar with that.
With all the ecotech issues and how many steering racks Angel put in that car,
you know, that's why I got my mechanic friends more.
I can't necessarily judge you because I am going to daily Aveo. I don't know if you know this, but the Yugo no longer exists because it literally rusted to death. And it fell apart all the time. It was. I'll put it this way, so you understand why it fell apart. The Yugo is Russian, sir.
Again, my reasoning for picking that car is nowhere near.
Why I get you. So I'm gonna have to crush the Yugo because I feel like if I put that on a track, it's probably gonna snap in two. Yeah, I'm gonna go to take the apex of the corner, and it's just gonna be like, oh, there goes my rear axle.
Yeah.
So it's like I can't take that risk. So I'm gonna daily the Aveo. I'm crushing the Yugo, and I will track the Daewoo because I think there are some compatible parts with an Opel overseas, if I'm not mistaken. So I think I can kind of mod it out to be somewhat some kind. It'll get around the track better than the Aveo would because I've seen the body roll that the Aveo has in Angel's car. So yeah, we'll go with the Daewoo. That wraps it up this week, guys. Hope you enjoyed the episode. Like, subscribe, share it, please. We will see you next week. And stay safe in 2020.
Oh, God. Stay safe. I never want to try to bring politics into this, but God, I hope nothing pops off on the 3rd.
Election is coming.
Stay safe, everyone.
The election is coming. That's all I have to say. I love how we hold on. Let's just make one comment. We live in red states. The election is coming.
Again, stay safe.